Episode 30, I believe, Ins and Outs Podcast. I'm Cole Brown, and I'm here with...
Patel.
There he is. The man, the myth, the Neocani legend, man. How are you today, man?
I am good. Big 30. Big 30.
I know, dude. This is month 5, so I've been doing every single week an episode, and this is the 30th episode. It feels pretty good, dude.
Senior year go by pretty fast?
Yeah, it went by a little bit too damn fast, to be honest. Like, first try ran by, winter try ran by.
Now we're in spring.
Dude. I feel a little bit good. Do you feel like when you were in high school, you were nervous in your senior year, or were you more excited?
So, I would say that I was pretty nervous because, you know, we're a small community, and I was planning to go to a bigger area, so I really didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But COVID kind of shut that down pretty quickly. So there were good things and there were bad things about it, but I would definitely say that I was pretty nervous for the end.
Yeah, I'm nervous, but a lot of my feeling is like excitement, ready for the future. But
absolutely.
But I know it's gonna be like a little nervous, little stuff. Bad shit's gonna happen, probably like not necessarily bad, but uncomfortable stuff maybe. Like moving out. It's like, oh, I don't know. But
yeah, I would definitely say most of the nervousness does come from excitement because a lot of times people are ready. At least my friends and I, we were ready to like move out of this area to go experience new things. Mm-hmm. But I would say, especially for you as well, a lot of the nervousness will definitely come with moving out and moving into a new area. Or you were going to get a single, weren't you?
Well, I thought about it, getting a single. I know we've had conversations about what my best option and stuff would be, but I've realized double probably. And I signed up for housing too, so I put double.
Okay,
in
for
the West.
Sure. Yeah, so that's the other like big thing that a lot of people are nervous about. At least that's what my friends were. For the ones that actually moved on campus that year, they were like, I don't know how roommates are going to work. And I mean, for them, they got good roommates, so they weren't worried about it.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends, Miguel Pimienta, the other day about his roommates, and I don't know, dude. He likes his roommates and all, but he just says that they're a little bit messy and they can like stay up too late. It's like, damn, that could like really be kind of a deal breaker, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of a neat freak. I don't like mess. I don't like disorganization. That all kind of goes away during the last 3 weeks of the term. I'm not gonna lie, my room is just scattered with papers, but like. Mess in general, don't like it. But you can always talk to your roommates. Most of them are typically pretty understanding.
Yeah.
I have heard some horror stories. Like my friend Travis, he was in Buxton Hall, and he had a roommate last year that would stay up until 2 playing League of Legends on a mechanical keyboard with no headphones.
Yes, you told me about this.
And so you just hear like the most unimaginably loud clacking on his keyboard the entire night, and then just and then him just yelling at his computer because it's League of Legends, and who enjoys League of Legends? Let's be honest. Come on.
I tried to play League for a bit. I was bad at it, and I'm happy I was bad.
Yeah.
Because I imagine I got good. I'd be like, I'd be some like weirdo, dude.
No, dude. People, I know people who dedicate way too much time to League of Legends. Like, it's unhealthy. I'll tell you that much. Don't like it. Do not like it.
Let's go back to this. I wanted to talk to you about the small school vibe. Do you? I wanted to ask you, since you went to Neocani small school and you excelled in that area, you took advantage of your opportunities. I feel like. Do you think you would have gotten more out of going to a larger school with more opportunity, or are you happy that you went to a smaller school because then you were kind of like, at the top kind of? What do you feel?
So, that's a good question. So for me, competition was like academic competition was always kind of a big thing, but there were really only like 3 or 4 people that I was constantly trying to compete with. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I went to like a bigger school, it would be against literally everybody, right? So in some ways, I guess it's good that I could stand out here, but in other ways, I think it would have pushed me to try a little bit harder and get rid of some of my like in high school, I was pretty apathetic towards a lot of things, like looking back. So I think going to a bigger school probably could have fixed that because I would have had to constantly be competing. But on the other hand, it made high school a lot more, I don't know if I can say I would have not enjoyed it at a bigger school, but it made it enjoyable for me because I didn't have to stress super, super hard about like a lot of different things, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, high school, it's definitely important, but I don't know. I'm in a good spot where I am. Like, I don't think people should stress that much about high school. Like, so I have friends from California. So talking about big schools, right? I have friends from California, Bay Area. My friend Mark, he comes from the Bay Area, and he talks to me about his high school experience, and it sounds like actual hell because they're constantly competing with each other, and it is cutthroat. Like it is cutthroat. I don't even know how to explain it. They're clubs there and sports there and academics there are like a whole nother dimension. Yeah, literally. It's like a whole nother dimension.
It's a whole different reality.
It is. I don't know. I don't think I would have enjoyed it at that kind of school, but I think going to either type, to wrap it up, right? Sorry, I kind of ramble.
No, but, you're good. I'm interested.
To wrap it up, I feel like if you can make the best out of going to a small school, it's great. And if you get the choice to go to a bigger school, that can be good too. It all really depends on how you want to go about like high school, right? If you want that academic competition, obviously a bigger school is going to be better, but you can get pretty similar results from a smaller school. I will say the one thing that I was really sad about after getting to high school is the lack of like, if you do go to college, was the lack of AP classes that Neoconi has, right? Because I get into college and I had a pretty significant amount of credits coming in because we're lucky because we have TBCC for dual credit.
Yes.
Right? That covered a lot of my first year stuff. But I'm coming in and like a bunch of my friends were able to skip like Gen Chem, basic. They were able to skip all the way up to vector calc, right? They were able to go pretty far just on AP classes. And that is something that is definitely helpful. Like at a bigger school, you'd have a lot more academic opportunities so that if you wanted to go to college, a lot of the stuff that you would want to pursue, you've already taken into high school and you don't have to pay for it. That's the biggest thing, is the money thing. That's why big schools can be pretty helpful, is because they have more academic opportunity. Of course, I think Oregon still has online. Like I took A-Push online and that was fine. Actually, I would say I worked less in online A-Push than my friends here did in Miss Scott's class. But
I mean,
thumbs up.
You know, you're right though. You do have more opportunity, and the reason I asked this question is because yesterday I was talking to, I don't know if you know him, his name's Jackson Welsh. He's a freshman. He'd be a freshman at Neoconi. Alex Welsh's younger brother.
Oh, okay.
And
I think I know Alex.
Yeah, and he transferred from Neoconi, but before he became a freshman, to Jesuit High School in Portland.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him the other night about how the differences between Neoconi, a smaller school that really you can get away with a lot. You know? They don't hold you accountable. You can really do whatever you want. I'm not just talking about academics. I'm talking about also like
everything
from the way you act, the words you say, being late. You know, I mean, the kids in his grade get detention if they're late more than like twice or something like that. If they're 20 minutes late to a class, they get this thing called I think it's called a jug. He was telling me.
The jug?
And if you get too many jugs, you have detention or something. And I was like, dude, everybody's late to class at Neoconi. Like, there's no accountability. So I thought about myself. I was walking back last night late, just kicking rocks by myself. I was like, would I have gotten more out of, instead of moving here during freshman year, moving to a more like an academy, college preparatory school? And I go, you know, I would have gotten a lot. I would have taken advantage of the opportunities, just like you're saying, with getting more classes done, because I'd have simply more opportunity. I'd see more people. I'd have a larger perspective. But then I realized, you know, at Neoconi, it's so chill. I can take advantage of whatever I need. I'm going to receive scholarships. And I learn about this like a rural community that the people in these maybe college preparatory schools, they would judge, honestly. They would probably judge these rural people and view them negatively. But now I've seen the spectrum and now I feel good.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right that Neoconi, Neoconi gets away with a lot that like other schools wouldn't even imagine.
No,
so, like,
yes,
like
you're right.
during what was it, sophomore year? I think it was sophomore year. We had a right. We know Neoconi's infamous revolving door of math teachers.
We got a good one right now though. The door is
It's
a good
closed right
spot.
now. Okay,
Yes.
that's good. That's good. We need to keep we need to keep math teachers, because I had four different math teachers for all 4 years of high school, literally. So that wasn't great, especially since I went into a very math heavy major, but it was whatever. But I remember telling my friends, back to the like getting away with stuff. I remember telling my friends during sophomore year, I would just get really fed up with how a specific math teacher would teach her classes. And so it was algebra 2. And so I would grab the worksheet for the day, because she had no control over her classroom, unfortunately. And so you wouldn't learn anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, it's pointless for me to be here. So I told them I would grab the sheet, tell her, hey, I'm headed out. And I would just leave the classroom. I'd go to the library, finish the worksheet. And then for like 40 minutes, I'd just be playing Clash Royale. Librarian, do you remember, were you there when Beth Clark was our librarian? Oh, yeah, she'd see like me, Jacob, and Ethan just chilling in the corner of the library, playing Clash Royale for 40 minutes every day because we didn't need to try for that. Or, I don't know. No, you get away with tons of stuff with very little repercussion. I know when my brother was at Neoconi, there was a great amount of accountability.
Really?
But yeah.
What happened, you think? Time? Teacher?
No,
administration? Okay.
That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one.
Okay.
It was administration. I won't go too much into
it.
Because, but yeah, it was administration. But I remember back then there was a lot more accountability. And I think even until like when I was in middle school, still a good amount of accountability. I think freshman year of high school is when my freshman year was when it started to decline. And then by junior year, there was like nothing. And I don't even know how it is now. So it was, but yeah, bigger schools definitely like they weren't even allowed to like leave class early if they were done with their assignments, or like they had to have special, well, obviously, right? No, but they had to have like special permission to even just go to the office to like print out stuff for the teacher, or like go to the library to print out stuff.
Yeah, and now kids can literally just walk out of class, and what's the worst that happens? They get like a little tardy slip, or they get like a little like, come on, get to class. But then they don't
Mr. A's like, hey, come on, man, get to class.
Yeah.
I love Mr. A.
And then they just don't listen. I mean, so now that you've gone to OSU, from this smaller school that's had less academic competition, do you feel like these classes are harder for you? I mean, they might be a little bit because you weren't in these other classes, but dude, you're thriving though. You're getting A's. You're just destroying it. You like love the environment. I mean, how is the environment at OSU in your chemical engineering?
Yeah. So originally, I guess to some just like background, right? Originally, I wanted to do pre-med, but so first of all, after that first bio class, ungodly boring. I was like, okay, this is not something I can do. I'm sure I could do it. I think I could do it, but there is no way I'm sitting through 3 more years of just memorizing like fact after, oh dude, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Everybody knows that one, right? I'm taking cell biology for like the 5th time. I just don't care anymore, right? Well, the thing that made me switch like from pre-med, I stayed in chemical engineering, but the thing that made me switch from pre-med in specific was the fact that my freshman year, people were giving out fake study guides.
What?
Yeah. So
what?
Yeah. So they would, and this happens a lot. I don't know why they were doing it at OSU, because OSU doesn't curve their intro bio courses, but at UW, this is infamous, where people give out fake study guides for pre-med students so that the curve is lower and that other people can raise higher so that they look better.
Huh.
But people were doing that at OSU, and I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. I want it to be in a major where like people actually, I don't know, collaborated. Maybe not.
This is
like,
this is so weird.
There was still competition, right? But sorry.
You're good.
I don't know. I just knew pre-med wasn't for me. But in my actual engineering classes, every year was like a new challenge, because first year was high school part 2. That was easy. Second year, still pretty easy, even for engineering classes, because you're still getting your bases. The first 2 years of engineering, you're getting your basic math, all your chemistry stuff out of the way, like basic electrical fundamentals, statics, dynamics, things like that. And I would say that most of that stuff is pretty easy. It just depends on who your professor is for most of that.
So rate my professor is a good thing you need to take advantage of.
Anybody who's going to college, rate my professor. Very, very important. But I should also say, take it with a grain of salt, because you could get somebody, take it with a grain of salt if you see anybody in the 3.0s, because that can be people just wanting to be like mean to the professor because they thought, I don't know, maybe he was rude, or like he dropped an assignment, or he wouldn't drop an assignment that they wanted him to drop. I don't know. Take things with a grain of salt, because you never know what's behind those ones. Typically, the 1 stars, 2 stars, and then the 5 stars, you can pretty much be like, okay, this is a good versus bad professor. Yeah, but third year, like I was in my third year. That is when engineering actually gets hard. That's when everything drops, and you just like the first week out of summer, I was like, man, I am so happy to be back in school. I'm ready to get at it. I'm ready to learn how to engineer things, right? And that first week hit me in the face like a hammer. I'm not even kidding. Like, that was where the difficulty like skyrockets. And this is for every engineer. You ask any third-year engineer if they're happy, and you're going to get a no. All right? You're going to get a no.
Explain to me what this means. Why was it like the class difficulty?
Yeah.
Was it just like it just turned up out of nowhere? What? How did this happen?
I can say both, right? At a smaller school, the difficulty of your classes is pretty linear, right? Freshman year, and to a certain extent, it kind of is in college as well, but you'll see what I mean in a second. Like freshman year in high school, sophomore year in high school, junior, senior, right? They kind of go up at this level. It kind of tapers off towards senior year, depending on how hard you want to make it, right? You can take whatever classes you want. But at a bigger school and in college, especially, well, dependent on your major, right? But it's typically pretty easy first year, because like first year classes, I was taking integral calc, vector calc, the Gen Chem series, right? Like they can be hard for some people. I'm not going to discredit that. But I was fortunate enough to kind of have that stuff click early on, so I didn't have too much of a problem with it. Second year gets a little bit harder. You're learning like statics, electrical fundamentals, so like circuits. The big wall for a lot of people is physics. Whether you take it with calculus or without, that's a huge wall, because it's an enormous time sink. The content, while it doesn't seem technically difficult after you've taken the series, when you're first being put up against that stuff, it's pretty daunting, because it's no longer just a math class, right? You really have to understand the situation, make assumptions. You have to fully understand what you're doing before you can even start the problem. So that's a big wall. But then, sophomore year was, for me, for chemical, it was organic chemistry. Not that bad, because we had a goated teacher. Finishing the physics series, so doing like rotational dynamics, E&M, so electromagnetism, or electricity and magnetism, there we go. And then finishing off like my math classes, so like differential equations, series, and matrix. But then the big issue with junior year is that is when, so the first 2 years of most engineering, pretty much the same. Whether you go into CEM, CE, Chemi, Mechie, it doesn't matter. You're pretty much going to be learning the same thing. Sans like maybe you'll take a more difficult version of chemistry, or maybe you'll take a little bit more circuits or things like that, right? Third year is where you start differentiating your classes. And that's when all the theory and technical knowledge comes in. So my first term this year was fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, PChem 1, which is another thermodynamics class, safety and ethics, which was just like a time sink course.
Was safety and ethics, was it pretty easy? Like a easy A or no?
Okay. See, that's what I was really upset about, because
it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was.
Sounds like it though.
It sounds like it. That's what I thought. When I was forecasting my sheet in spring term, I was like, great. We'll have. I already said fluid mechanics, but I was like, we're gonna have these hard classes.
And safety and ethics can be fine.
And safety ethics is gonna be fine. That's gonna be my easy class, easy A. Like I don't have to worry about it too much. The professor's like pretty nice, right? Oh, and then I took an engineering elective. I took polymer science and engineering because polymer lab, you know. Yeah, no. Safety and ethics was absolutely not easy. That was ridiculous. The amount of work necessary for that class versus the information you're given. Like, so throughout the whole course of the class, you're basically given, like, they want you to build it's like the baby version of plant design, which is a senior course I will take.
Plant design?
Yeah, chemical plant design.
Huh.
So next year,
okay.
yeah, so next year, my capstone will be to, from scratch, build and design a chemical plant. And it can produce whatever I want. Some of them are pretty cool. Like I know they have like one of the project, because you get to choose which project you want. I know they have like hydrogen fuel cells, like plants that do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's your capstone.
That's sick.
It's pretty cool, but I've been told that is the most time intensive class you can take. And safety and ethics is basically just prepping you for that class next year. Well, safety and ethics, you got to choose your own plant, but it was just basically like you were just basically designing all the safety aspects behind the plant, making sure that it was in safe locations. And you would not believe how much tedious math goes into that. And like another thing was our homework assignments weren't even like, they weren't technically difficult, but what they were.
Safety and ethics?
Yeah, for safety and ethics. What it was he would have us take these online quizzes and these modules would be anywhere from an hour to like 4 hours long. The longest one being 7 hours long.
And are they due every single week?
They are due. Oh, Jesus. They are due every single week. This was every term. Like, I'll talk about this too, because every term I have this year has had a class where it is not technically difficult, but it is the work on top of the actually hard classes that just makes it so much more aggravating, because you're like, I need to study or I need to do something for this class, and then you're like, uh-oh, I have like 4 things due for this class that I've been putting off because it's on the back burner. But yeah, safety and ethics, not an easy A. Really unfortunate about that, but it was also an 8 a.m. class, and so getting up for that was rough, because I just knew I didn't want to be there. But sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just wanted to. So hold on. I accidentally. No, it's good. Okay, I accidentally paused recording, but I fixed it. Damn spacebar. Spacebar, get out of here, dude. Spacebar, stop trolling, bro. Anyways, what I wanted to ask you was, I put a star and I put explosives ?
Oh,
Star.
yeah.
Are you learning how to like do stuff with explosives, like stuff like that? I'm asking for a friend.
You're asking for a friend, of course. So
But it's cool though.
You do. It's cool though. So you learn about like reaction kinetics, and you learn about chemical reactions. I should say this also, chemical engineering is kind of a poor name for this type of engineering, because it's mostly it's like process engineering. You're mostly learning how processes work on a fundamental level and how to scale them up. Whereas like mechanical engineers would work on like parts or how to make things move. We work on like, this is a great way to put it. So mechanical engineers would design a system's parts for like a process to work. And then we would design the chemistry and like controls behind that process to make the process work. So it would be like a bunch of engineers doing it together of different specialties. No, we do not learn how to make explosives. I want to make that abundantly clear. You do not learn how to make... You can, with like chemistry knowledge, yes, you can. You can make a very exothermic reaction. Can you get a hold of those materials? Probably not, because, you know, it's an explosive. But yeah, you learn the chemistry behind these kinds of things, which is honestly pretty interesting. So like, for example, real quick, also, I should say this. Back to why like junior year was, the start of junior year is typically like a slap in the face for everybody. It's because you're going into a lot of technical knowledge. So like I had fluids, polymer engineering, PChem 1, safety and ethics, and thermodynamics.
In that's in just fall, or
that was just fall.
How many classes is that?
That was 5.
Okay.
And then, but with engineering, I think all of those except for PChem had a studio or a lab or a recitation attached to it.
Mandatory one?
Mandatory, where you basically had to go to another class period and do like a worksheet or something. And let me tell you, some of those, they make those worksheets very difficult because they're trying to apply to like real life situations. There's some of them are absolutely ridiculous, Cole. It's a lot. And like, so a lot of engineers experience this as well, is that first week, they're putting in so much time because the strategies that you use to get through the first 2 years of college no longer work, right? You can't just phone it in and keep getting A's. You really have to like study and try. And like that first week, I probably spent over 25 hours on homework alone because I was too prideful to go to a TA. After that, the moment I got stuck on homeworks, like it's very important for you to struggle through homeworks because that is where a lot of the learning can happen. But if you're sitting there for like an hour and you have nothing written down, just go to a TA because they'll be able to at least get you started, get you helped. And then you can go spend your time not doing homework and B, on more important things. But yeah, that's why junior year is typically seen as this giant peak, is because every engineer feels it. You get into more technical stuff. They teach you the theory behind. We spent an entire week deriving the Navier-Stokes equation, which is basically this equation. It's a momentum balance equation, which basically dictates how flow over certain surfaces and through pipes, basically how flow of fluids works. You can calculate how the flow of a fluid, like the velocity profile of a fluid, will go through any sort of dimension. The math behind it might just be very difficult. But that is what we were deriving. And let me tell you, those 3 lectures, they were 50-minute lectures, and we did it over a whole week. I sat there and played with Silly Putty. I didn't even take notes because she wrote so fast that it was impossible. And she's talking about these things that none of us know. Every like 3 minutes, one of my friends would like whisper to me like, "Do you know what that is?" It's like, "No." And it's like, the other one whispers to me, "Do you know what that is?" "No." And then I whisper to them like, "Do you guys understand what's happening at all?" And they're like, "No." And then you get to the final form of the equation, and it actually looks pretty nice. Like, well, I mean, if you look up the Navier-Stokes equations, you're going to get 3 big equations. You can flash them on screen or something. I don't know. But they're really disgusting to look at. But then when you apply them to a problem, they simplify super nicely. But like, that was just one thing. I know my friends in ECE, electrical and computer engineering, their theory stuff is similarly really difficult. Third year is also just like very hard because the amount of work you have, not comparable to second or first year. You have way more work. You actually have to study for those for exams. You have to make sure that you're like finishing your homework. And the unfortunate part about it is that, and not because the homework might be weighted really heavily. In fact, in PChem, homework was, I believe, less than 2% of our grade. But if you didn't know the homework, if you didn't know how to do the homework, you could not do well on the exam. So you had to do the homework despite it being worth next to nothing, which really doesn't help your motivation during the term. But
yeah. Well, it does build that understanding though.
It definitely does build better understanding, except for PChem 1, a lot of the homework she gave us were basically like, oh, derive Maxwell's relations, because it was thermodynamics. So it was like derive Maxwell's relations, or prove an adiabatic system is also, I don't know.
And this is the homeworks?
These are the homeworks, yeah.
Okay.
It's
so
like
it's just building your knowledge though in general.
They do.
It's like, okay, somewhat building
it's just you're sitting like, you're basically just sitting in the mole hole, which is the chemistry like help center. I've never been to the mole hole those first 2 years of college. I didn't need to. Third year yes. for your PChem, you gotta go to the mole hole because it's just, you have to get help from the TAs. Like, because because you don't know. I don't know how to derive like half of this stuff, and so even if they get me started, I literally have to have them sit there and walk me through the derivation because I would never think to do some of those like mathematical tricks that they did to derive that formula. But I guess it works. Back to the explosions though. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool because I don't know if you heard about the East Palestine train derailment. So there was a train carrying like a ton of dangerous chemicals. It had, right? It had a bunch of dangerous chemicals. Like it had benzene. It had, I think it had propane. Like they had a bunch of stuff. Also, if you don't know, benzene is like really carcinogenic. So
it explodes and
no, it's cancer causing.
Cancer causing.
Yeah.
The
The propane definitely explodes. And they had a bunch of other stuff. I read about it, but I didn't read like what every single. It was like 22 cars. This thing derailed and just blew up. And the craziest thing about it was that since this was after engineering safety and ethics, we knew, like my friends and I looked at this article and we knew what was happening. Like we were like, oh my God, that was it was called like a BLEVE, is a boiling liquid expansion vapor explosion. We were like, that's why they did what they did. But honestly, they chose the officials that got there chose such an interesting way to deal with this problem because it's a big spill, right? And so it was constantly leaking poisonous and dangerous chemicals into the environment. And so what was really bad is it was leaking into aquifers underground and also into the Ohio River. And so to stop this, what they did was they just set it on fire. They set the whole thing on fire and let it burn off into the atmosphere because they wanted it
to not sink in.
They wanted it to not sink in where it could
affect aquifers or whatever.
Yeah, because if it affects aquifers, now you have a long-standing water problem. I mean, they still did. If you saw, there's a video of, I don't know if it's real or not, but I did see a video of a woman making coffee. She was in East Palestine. She made coffee and then put creamer in it, and the creamer bubbled. Yeah. So I don't know if that was real. I should say that, but I looked at that and I was like, what? That's kind of insane. But yeah, they burned it off because it's easier to deal with if air isn't stagnant. It's easier for that stuff to blow away and not harm a civilian population than it is for it to sink into the ground and cause long-standing damage to the environment and then also the people because rainwater will continue to dredge that up over and over again. But yeah, explosions are pretty cool. Not when that kind of stuff happens, but analyzing them, pretty cool.
Because I was thinking, I'm like, what kind of jobs go into that you could get from this chemical engineering degree? And I was thinking, okay, you could go into explosives. I was thinking about military.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Ani, you dude, you like warhead creator, man. Like what?
Well, it is funny you say that because chemical engineers can work in a lot of different fields, right? Here's the thing. Also, engineers in general, whether you get a mechanical engineering degree, a chemical engineering, electrical engineering degree, I'm like slurring my words, Jesus. It matters to a certain extent if you want to go into a specific field. But for most engineering, they'll take mechanical, chemical, electrical. They'll take those three especially because they're very broad. Like you have a specialty, right? Ours is process, mechanicals is design, and electrical is obviously circuits and electrical design, right? But they just want somebody who can solve problems. So you can get a job as a general engineer depending on the company you go to.
Is there a general engineering degree at OSU? I forget.
I don't think so, but I don't know how much. See, that's the other thing is I don't know how much weight I would put in a general engineering degree because I don't. When I hear general engineering degree, there's so much to that I don't know. Like, do you like? Because that could range from taking the intro to all of these classes to really having to take all of these classes.
True.
Like
I get what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yes. You could either have little knowledge in a bunch of subjects
or a lot of knowledge
in
a bunch of subjects, which would then make it a very difficult major. I just wouldn't, like as an employer, I wouldn't know how to call it. But for chemical engineering in specific, you can, hang on.
In this general engineering degree, I guess maybe it might open doors for you to get a lot of different internships maybe, but then are you going to want to spend your years like working at like chemical, mechanical, like that'd be probably pretty shitty.
I mean,
it could be.
It just depends on, right? Yeah. See, it just depends on what you want.
Yeah.
But for example, with chemical engineering, you can really branch out. So you can go work in the food industry. So you can design like how you can
packaged or something like that.
Yeah. So like that's not what I'm really interested in, but you can do like stuff with food science and how things are manufactured and distributed.
Creamery.
Tillamook Creamery.
I don't know.
Big chemical engineers probably there. I would assume.
Yes.
Because the process behind
that makes sense. Yes.
The process behind even the simplest things is surprisingly complex. The safety implications that go behind it, the math that goes behind it, the monitoring and systems and control that goes behind it. It's kind of intense. But like more so for chemical engineering, you have three big areas that people tend to go into it for. You have renewable energy, which can span anywhere from solar to geothermal to hydroelectric. You can do all of those with chemical engineering because all of those are processes. But a lot of people like to go into solar and electrical, like batteries, longer storage batteries, because those you actually get to do experiments with and you're actually testing these things. With the other two, you're more so designing and then just like letting them be. So like, for example, there's a professor at OSU that works on more efficient conversion of solar energy in solar cells to battery storage. That one's pretty interesting. The next actually, I guess there's 4. So there's technically 4.
Technically for what?
Sorry, 4 like big things that you can go into
from chemical engineering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's renewable energy. There is, oh man, what was it? Renewable energy. Oh, material science, of course. Because the more I think about it, that is actually what I was more interested in when I thought of chemical engineering, is with material science and engineering, which is still fine because chemical engineers can absolutely do those kinds of jobs. They'll just have to be caught up to speed a little bit on certain things. So material science, designing and optimizing different materials for a variety of reasons, whether they be for military, for commercial use, industry, like nanomaterials, that's a big one. Chemical engineers can do all of that. The big one, another big one that chemical engineers go into is pharmaceuticals, because all of that is scaling up processes. And that's what chemical engineers, the foundation of it is you're scaling up processes to be done on an industrial level or to be done like wide scale.
Yeah.
So
industrial level, yeah.
Yeah. So pharmaceuticals is a big one. That's something that I would probably be pretty interested in.
Making a medicine and stuff. Because that goes back to your pre-med track that you were talking about originally.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that kind of just a loopy to get back to where you wanted.
Honestly,
could be
not a bad idea.
Is that what you're thinking about, the pharmaceutical deal?
I mean, right now, it's still really up in the air because I'm thinking about if I should go into industry or go into grad school. But the thing is, if I go into grad school, I'm going to get a PhD because I don't want to pay for a master's. There's no point in paying for a master's.
So you either want to go all the way
or not at all.
Or not at all.
Yeah.
Respect.
And so I don't know if I'm going to do that because, I mean, I'm doing well in my classes, but I'm feeling pretty burnt out right now. So it really depends on how I feel at the start of next year because that's when applications for grad schools are due. So honestly, the move might be I might apply to grad schools because I can get the waiver fees waived. There we go.
It's a lot of waves.
It's a lot of waves. But I might do them and see which ones I get into. My goal would probably be Northwestern. It's a very good school, but it's also a very good material science school.
Isn't that in the East Coast?
Yeah.
Northwestern, yeah, it doesn't
sound... I don't know.
I think Reynolds went to that one or something.
I think she did. Right now she's at Penn State, which is another pretty good chemical engineering school for grad school. So maybe I'll hit up Miss Reynolds and be like, "What's up?" Grad school is definitely an option for me. Oh, also the other big industry is like polymers. So polymer science, engineering, and polymers span over. I guess that can be lumped in with material science.
What is polymers? What do you mean? I'm dumb.
Polymers spans and actually like an enormous field. So this is why it's also lumped into material science. So the most basic form of a polymer I can tell you is a plastic. So all plastics that you see around you are polymers. They are materials made of many repeating subunits. That's what polymer means. Poly is many, mer is parts. So many parts, many repeating subunits of the same exact chemical. So for example, like if you have a plastic cup that's pretty hard and sturdy, chances are it's probably made out of PETE, which is polyethylene terephthalate, which just has many repeating subunits of ethylene terephthalate. So that's plastics. Another big industry for polymers is, believe it or not, the like cosmetics industry. So like shampoo, conditioner, makeup to a certain extent. A lot of those are polymers because they go into... The people who work there would be rheologists, and so that is the study of flow and how things flow. And so a lot of those are like when you have shampoo, for example, when you get to the bottom of it and it's sitting upright and you want to get some out, you hit it, right? Well, they have to design it to be like that. And this is similar with ketchup. So ketchup and shampoo are actually really similar in that Yeah, I know. Try not to think about eating
yeah.
shampoo, but they're actually really similar in that they are both um, shear thinning Bingham fluids, and what that means is that they both have a yield stress, which is why when you flip ketchup upside down, and there's a very little amount of it, it will just stay there, right? Gravity says it should fall as a fluid, it should fall, but it doesn't, and that's what a yield stress is that it has a certain amount of force that it needs to yield to until it starts flowing. But then after it starts flowing, you can either be a normal fluid or you can be shear thinning or thickening. The easiest way to explain those is shear thinning is, right, when we hit ketchup or we hit shampoo, it falls and it's easy to push out, right? So now when you push it, now you're applying shear, right? So what that means is if it was shear thinning, it'll come out of the tube, and now you can have ketchup on your hot dog or something, right? Or you can have shampoo in your hair. But if it was shear thickening, it wouldn't come out. It would actually get harder. Easiest way to think about that is, you remember oobleck as a kid, like cornstarch and water?
When you apply force to it, it
gets harder. That's a shear thickening fluid. Those aren't very common.
Yeah. I was gonna say that sounds rare.
Pretty uncommon, but they're
I'm
there.
trying to think of anything that besides oobleck.
Genuinely, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was in an entire class about that, and I still couldn't think of one. But oobleck's there. Shout out shear thickening fluids. Yeah.
Shout out to shear thickening.
Shout out to shear thickening.
Shout out to oobleck, dude. I remember I used to watch on YouTube. People would fill a pool of oobleck.
Oh my gosh.
And then they'd do flips on it and stuff. And my 9-year-old brain was like,
wow, how do you do that?
How it's a solid, it's a liquid.
I remember seeing. I mean, we all had if you've seen Phineas and Ferb, right? There was that episode where they fill a pool with Jello. And then they could bounce on it, and I was like, "Wow, that would be so cool!" And then they did it in real life, and it just turned to slush.
Yeah.
That was disappointed. That was very disappointing. That's also, sorry to be such a nerd here, but I mean, you had me on the podcast, so you kind of expected this. Jello, another great example of polymers, because they cross-link. That's how. That's why when you put it in the fridge, it turns into a gel instead of stays liquid. And so that's why when you add too much water, there's a certain concentration at which the gelatin that you add, the sodium alginate that you add, I think it's sodium alginate, it no longer can cross-link effectively. And so that's why you get a slurry instead of a nice solid gel. Kind of cool. Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
Thought I should mention it.
Dude, it's interesting. So let's go to the job. So what you want to do.
Yeah.
So you say you don't have any ideas? You're thinking about grad school, only Northwestern, or are there other ones?
Yeah. So if I go into grad school, it will likely be for material science because I guess it's easier to do industry first because that's quicker. If I go into industry, it'll probably be in either design. It'll be research and development, probably for sure, because I want to do R&D more than I care about processes.
R&D is
research and development.
Research and development.
So I don't really care too much about the process side of chemical engineering. I care a lot about the research and development side because I think it's cooler.
Maybe more active as well. You be in it more and
exactly.
Work.
But I would go into pharmaceuticals, or I would go into what is it? Longer storage batteries. So there's a company called Form Energy that does air oxide batteries, where they basically, this is kind of cool, they store energy by rusting in quote unquote unrusting iron. And it's, if they get the process down properly, that can be one of the biggest solutions to our energy crisis, is because we have abundant sources of renewable energy now, right? The issue is we have no ways to store it long term. And that is a really, really big issue that people are trying to tackle with different forms of batteries. Pretty cool. So I would do one of those two things, mostly because they both pay pretty well.
You'd probably have to leave Oregon for this, though. Maybe go down to SoCal or...
Yeah, so if I did pharmaceuticals and I wanted to be... I mean, it's cutthroat down there, but Genentech in the South Bay, they do a ton of work, and I've heard work-life balance is really nice down there. I mean, you're in California, which,
plus or minus
is there, yes. But it's it's pretty cool. I think it would be really nice to expand out of Oregon for a little bit. I don't mind my first job being in Oregon though. For energy though, I think definitely I would have to move outside of Oregon. Probably I know Form is on the East Coast, pretty sure. So I'd probably have to move there. Granted, if I can get that job. But it'd be one of those two. That's what I'm actually interested in. But here's the thing. If you're going to do engineering, get a job as an engineer and then look for your next job. It is a first job for a reason. And I want to emphasize that because a lot of people, and like me included, I had a lot of like really bad anxiety of like, oh my God, I'm going to get a job that I'm not going to like and then I'm going to be stuck there forever. It's a first job. Emphasis on first. You can always move later after you get more experience and be more competitive for things that you're actually interested in. So that's another thing I should mention. But for grad school, those are the two things I would probably do in industry. For grad school, I would probably do material science and engineering and then go back into industry. Because the reason I'm not going to double dip in chemical engineering is I would only do that if I wanted to teach. And teaching would be really cool, but the issue is academia is absolutely like broken right now. It is super, super hard to get a position in academia as an instructor, let alone as a professor. So I don't know if I could do that.
And you don't know if you'd want to either, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yep. Whereas if I do material science and engineering and then I go into a PhD, or not a PhD, and then I go into industry, right? It's that, and then I work on like projects for
cool stuff, batteries and these like
or like
storing energy and stuff.
Like PhDs can go work in like the national labs, which they basically, as long as your project gets funding, you basically have free reign over whatever you want to do.
Damn, this is sick.
Yeah, we have a professor. Her name is Kelsey Storzinger. So people like to throw around the word genius. This woman is actually a genius. Like, she thinks in so many different ways. She's brilliant. She really is. She went to Northwestern for her bachelor's, Cambridge for her master's, and then MIT for her PhD. Like, she's absolutely insane. But she co-teaches at OSU and then works at the national lab. So she's got two jobs where she does electrocatalysis and seawater electrolysis. So basically how you can split hydrogen and oxygen from seawater and how you can get more effective reactions using electricity and materials. That's what electrocatalysis is. But some pretty cool stuff that you could do with a PhD. I just don't know. It's a big commitment, right? It's 5 years of your life. So
that'd be 5 years on top of the additional 4 that you do for your bachelor's.
Yep. So
damn. So this is a big choice for you that's coming up. Whether you and if you commit to it, you're not going to want to do it for 3 years or something. You say you want to go all the way.
So that is the thing. There's a really like another little caveat there as well, is that if you don't like it, after 2 years, you can do what they call mastering out. And you can leave, your master's you can leave with your master's. So it's not a super tied down commitment, but what I've talked to a lot of people, they told me not to go in with the attitude that you're going to master out, because then you're going to absolutely hate grad school. Another thing is you got to do grad school for yourself. You can't do it for like any other reason. You can't do it for money. You can't do it for like all these other reasons, because like
the money's going to be there in other places if you want it.
There are much easier ways to make money
than getting
a PhD. You got to do it for yourself. You got to do it for self-growth. You got to do it because you want to be an expert in a field. You got to do it because you want to do very specific kinds of research. It's also a long-term plan. It's like whenever I talk to people who are going to do PhDs, have done PhDs, or are currently in their PhDs, they always think long-term. They're like, I pretty much wanted to think, okay, what am I going to do 10 years out of college? What am I going to do 20 years out of college? What am I going to do 30 years out of college?
I absolutely love that way of thinking. I absolutely love that. I mean, regardless of PhD, but just long-term thinking is something I'm a big fan of, because it gets rid of a lot of the short-term worry and a short-term BS. If you think long-term, shit could happen and you'd be all right, But continue.
Everything. That is the attitude that I go into a lot of like stressful situations with, is that regardless of what happens, everything's going to work out.
Yes, long term.
Because if you think it's not going to work out, Well, then,
good luck.
Yeah, I don't know what you're gonna. I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You better find a new plan pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my two options right now. And if I went to grad school, I'd probably do research on probably batteries. They're pretty cool. I think they're cool. Outside of that are polymers.
Being home right now, you're coming back from OSU. How do you feel? Do you feel good home? Do you like, God damn, I got to get back to work or what, man? Like,
No,
how does it feel to be back home? And
So
drive around?
before the podcast started, I told you like my absolute like hellish finals week, right?
The hardest it's been for you,
Yeah.
so far, yes.
Yeah, and that was partially my fault, partially just the nature of winter term, third year, but it was also definitely partially my fault. I came home knowing I didn't want to do anything. I literally came home wanting to say, hey, I'm going to sleep, eat, and not think about school because I need, like, winter break, the span between fall term and winter term.
Is it like a month or something?
Yeah, you get pretty much an entire month to like decompress. Spring and winter sucks because it's 1 week. You get 1 week to decompress from everything, and then you're right back to it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like trying to take as much time to just like do really relaxed things because I know when I go back, it's going to be right back to the same things. And so I just wanted to catch up on sleep, man. To be completely honest, it's nice being home. Like I'm around my parents, I'm with my dog. I love my dog. And, you know, a lot of my friends are home for spring break as well. So, you know, it's not all bad. I should say this also goes back to like the big small school thing. I wanted to say this for anybody who is listening to podcasts or who has lasted this long. Don't regret where you came from.
Yeah,
Specifically because there was a time when I was in college where I was like, dang, if I had done this, if I had done that. Don't do that with the ifs because it doesn't change anything and it just makes you more like not depressed, but it just sours your mood for like the rest of the day, rest of the week, right? Don't think in ifs. Just be thankful where you came from and try and think about the future. Think, what can I do now that can set me up for success later on? Because you can't really change what happened to you, but you can absolutely change your current situation. I just want to say that for anybody who's like looking back on this and then thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I did this, or I wish I did that. Or even in high school, you have doubts like, man, I really wish I did this in high school, or like, I wish I did this last year. Don't do that. Bad thinking. Think about the future and how you can change it.
Amen. Yes, sir, dude.
I gotta say it.
You gotta say it. And it's true.
It is. I mean, my friends and I, a lot of us went through that. We're like, we really wish we did certain things the first 2 years of college. It doesn't matter. Those 2 years are gone. Yeah, those 2 years are gone. It's okay. Yeah. You just move on.
And you know, you learn. Now you have this knowledge now. Hey, fuck it. Let's go.
Yep.
Amen.
That's why, back to the long-term thinking, right? Yes. You got your whole life ahead of you. Yep. Something you do 1 year ago, unless it's like an absolutely crucial decision, and I'm talking like life-changing decision, it's not going to matter. I'll be completely honest. It's probably not going to matter.
Yeah.
So just roll with it. Roll with the flow, but don't be apathetic.
True.
It's a good one.
Amen. Well, I mean, I don't really have that much. Actually, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you ever think you're going to start your own damn company and maybe run a company, or do you think you're more on the side of being an employee, working up that?
So,
or do you think you could go out and start some, life-saving energy crisis solving?
I think if I got a PhD, so the nice thing with the PhD is that if you do it, you pretty much, that's like immediate qualifications, and it's really nice for investors for certain companies. Like a lot of my professors have started side companies that they've sold early on in their careers, and now they're like set. Right. So I could definitely
millions and millions of dollars.
Well, I wouldn't say millions and millions of dollars, but they're doing pretty good. That is the nice thing about a PhD. But if not, I mean, I'm fine with being an employee. I think today's society puts a lot of emphasis on like hustle culture,
CEO and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's definitely good to want to be independent, and it's good to want to be your best self. But if you're constantly hustling, the thing that I've found out is that if you're constantly grinding towards one goal, and then you finally get that goal, it's very bittersweet because you kind of look back on it and you're like, okay, well, what next? I did all this work. Now what? And like for hustle culture in general, I don't know. I mean, I guess I should talk about this. Like you were saying earlier, like before the podcast, like whether it's worth it to go to college or not.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, unfortunately, if you want to do something in STEM, and I'm not talking about general STEM, because if you go into bio, first of all, do not get a general bio degree. That is useless. Second of all, if you go into like chemistry or like basic chemistry, or I shouldn't say basic, but if you go into chemistry or something, you pretty much have to get a PhD, because the skills that you get in a chemistry program really only set you up to be like a lab technician. Like you're going to just be, my professor calls it a bench monkey. You're just basically going to be doing the experiments that your employer wants you to do over and over and over again, just constantly at a lab workspace. If you decide to go into engineering or computer science, a college degree is definitely worth it, because the returns on that will be really good. And I'm not trying to throw shade at any liberal arts. I'm not trying to show shade at bio or anything. But that is also math. That's a big one. You can get a lot of jobs with a math degree.
You can get a lot of jobs with that?
Yeah, totally.
Besides teaching or something? Like,
no,
I'm just teaching.
I'm talking about like, so real quick, also, no bashing liberal arts degrees. The issue is college is too expensive to dedicate all your time to a liberal arts degree unless you're also learning another type of marketable skill. So like if you're doing a dual degree in computer science and then like history, all for it, right? That's great. But if you want to, or like if you have a full paid scholarship, then yeah, you can do whatever you want. But you also have to be realistic about these kinds of things. And I hate saying this because, it makes it seem very elitist, but that is the reality of our situation right now. College is really expensive. And unless you want to be paying debt your entire life, it's going to be better to go get a STEM degree. But yeah. Also, going back to the math thing, yeah, you can totally get jobs with a math degree. A lot of places actually really appreciate that. So, for example, you can get computer science jobs, like you can get software engineering jobs with a math degree, because a lot of it is like logic based. Once you get past, so like skip all of algebra, and for anyone in like pre-calc or calculus, skip all of that, right? After you get into the high levels of math, a lot of it is proofs, and proofs by induction, linear algebra, and things that are more logic based, like set theory, things like that. They're much more logic based than they are what you would think of actual math, right? You're not taking integrals, you're not taking derivatives anymore, you're not like foiling equations. What's up?
Foiling equations.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Shout out foiling.
Shout out to that process.
Shout out to that process. Saved me on my PChem exam. You're not doing any of that. It's all like proving that this logic works, which is what software engineers pretty much do. They prove that a coding process works and can be replicated multiple times despite various edge cases, right? Like what happens if a user enters like a number that goes to infinity? What happens if they enter a negative number where they're not supposed to? What happens if they enter a 0 where they're not supposed to? Those are the three most common edge cases that can really screw you over. Math majors are also taught a decent chunk of coding. And so they're pretty set up to do computer science things. And I think pure math is pretty interesting. I didn't like it in high school because for teachers. I like it in college because A, I use it a lot, so I kind of have to like it. But also B, it is quite nice when things work out really, really elegantly.
They come to resolving. Like,
yeah.
Now I understand it. Huh?
Yeah. And so you can absolutely, there's actually separate things. There's like math education, and then there's pure mathematics. You can also have subdivisions in math degrees as well. You can definitely be a math teacher. And honestly, shout out math teachers. Shout out to them because I would have a really hard time teaching high school math. Buckmaster. She I think what is it? I think it was sophomore year. She asked me to come help
teach a math class.
They wanted me to come teach a math class. I'm not even kidding. They asked my dad, was like, hey, because they dropped a lot of the requirements to become a substitute.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Yes.
And so
They were some old high school kids who go back. And respect them, whatever.
Yeah.
But
they could have, dude, they asked me to come teach a class. And I was like, no.
Teach a class? Like
I would be teaching the class.
Like you'd work there. And
yeah. I would.
Oh my God, that sucks.
What an awful thing to do. I come back after 2 years and be like, oh, what's up? The freshmen and sophomores my senior year are now juniors and seniors, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm back. No, never doing that. I'd be teaching you guys.
Yeah.
That would be I couldn't do that. I told my dad when he told me that, I was like, A,
they're tripping.
They are tripping. B, the only thing I could teach these kids is calculus. That is literally it. I could not teach you how to do like the basics behind algebra because after a certain point, it just becomes like second nature and you no longer know how to like
teach it,
explain it. Huh. Like I could show you the process, but I would not explain it. But yeah, imagine John Loman being your math teacher. That's pretty crazy.
That'd be weird.
That would be really weird.
Weird.
And I'd wildly unproductive.
Probably better than some of our other teachers.
Oh no.
Shade.
Is Bill Stein still there?
Surprisingly.
I'm surprised he hasn't left.
He's good. He's chilling. His track team is going to do well this season. And our baseball team is going to do well this season because we got a shipment from Mexico of this kid.
Okay.
No, he's a foreign exchange student.
Let's hear it.
And he's a beast, dude. Absolute beast. He throws the ball real hard.
He's a ringer?
Yeah.
Oh.
He pitches. But in Mexico, he doesn't pitch.
Yeah.
But here, he pitches, and he just
blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
And he's lefty. He hits lefty, just hitting dingers.
You guys are 3A now, right?
Yeah.
How's that been?
Feels good. I like it, and I think baseball for this year it's going to be good. But then next year, and once the team starts going down, because we have like 9 seniors on the team right now.
Every time.
So after this year, good luck to y'all.
Yeah, no, it happens every senior year. I know every senior class feels that way. It especially felt that way when the class above mine left, like Tristan's class. Over. We thought it was literally over.
And was it over? Decently.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like, our football team did okay, I think, that year. But, like, I mean, my junior year, the year before that, we were killing it. That was it was like this first time we made it to state in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good team. That's just a memory I have is, like, being at those football games, knowing we were going to win, unmatched. That was pretty dope. I won't lie.
Good feeling.
Yeah. But, yeah, they left after that. And so, every class feels like that. I just, I'm interested in how you guys will do in track, honestly, because it's a lot more open. So I don't know.
It's gonna be fun, dude. It's gonna be fun. I'll keep you posted on it. I'll say, hey, I heard the track team. I think that they have a good chance, man.
Hey, let's go.
But anyways, I don't have anything else, man. I feel like we've had a great conversation. I've learned a lot. I've been hit with a lot of knowledge. I like it, man. I like learning about stuff that I'm not familiar with, and I'm excited to go over to OSU and.
Nice.
Go see what it's about. I'll hit you up. I'll be like, hey, Ani.
What's up, man?
What's up, dog? I'll see you.
I'll be your physics tutor. Be chilling in the wormhole.
Yeah. Are you gonna be an IA or LA or what is it called? TA?
I'll probably be a TA next year. I'll have a lot more time.
Mm-hmm. So you might actually.
I might actually be a TA for physics. I was a TA last year for physics.
Do you take physics your freshman year?
You'll take the first term of physics, your spring term of freshman year. Mm-hmm. Typically. Sometimes, actually, I think they changed how engineering works, which is really annoying because that whole system is gross. But I think you'll either take it spring term your freshman year or you'll take it fall term your sophomore year. So it'll be dope.
It'll be good, man. Yeah. If you guys have any questions about energy, about math, Ani's your guy.
I got you.
Hit him
College.
up.
I got you. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, so I'm happy to tell what you should definitely not do. So
learn by doing. That's what I believe.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you for getting on.
Absolutely.
Here, you can't see it right now. It doesn't exist, but in the editing, there's gonna be your Instagram right there. All right, episode 30. That's it. Peace out, guys. Thank you.